Greetings, listeners. Does this sound like you? You don't know what to watch next? Mindlessly scrolling down one streaming service, then another, and another, only to end up watching the same episodes of The Office you've seen 1,000 times? Not to worry. We here at the Half-Ass Podcast Network got you covered. Because we also know what the fuck we're watching next. Our next movie is always a mystery, always unknown. It's always to be determined. That's right, we let Tubi determine what we watch next, and you should too. So pour your beverages, pop your popcorn, and come along on a journey with us where our destinations are always to be determined. Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of To Be Determined. I am your host, the J-Man, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, Drinks with Ron. What are we sipping on tonight?
Well, as my brother said earlier, this might be the kind of week where you challenge your supervisor to meet you on neutral ground and hash it out. So tonight, in honor of that, we're going with straight whiskey.
Woohoo! And this is a special episode. We got returning guest, and it's our last official episode of season 1. So we have a return guest, if you will, a guest who's returning to the podcast. Yikes Mountain.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes.
I love it.
Does not get old.
No, it doesn't.
Not one note, one beat gets old in that song.
Well, that song doesn't get old, but the newer version doesn't get old because it's new, but it could get old depending on how much we play it.
I think it's already the 4th time since we hit record. So yeah, we're deep into it. It was not the first go round for us.
Nope. And we are deep into this first season because we're at the end, Ron.
Yeah.
Goddamn son of a bitch, look at that! We did it!
Congratulations, you guys. I'm honored to be the last guest and congrats to your achievement. I know that one thing Ron didn't need more of was more editing material, and yet he did it anyway.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Very fair. And with our final guest, as always, we're doing the guest sandwich. I will go first. Yikes goes in the middle. And Ron, you will be our last official movie review of the year. So without further ado, let's start talking about these movies that Tubi just decided for us. The movie I got, like I said, I believed for some reason at the time that I watched it on VHS. Then I realized it was not an older Artie Lang movie, but a newer Artie Lang movie.
That got me too.
So I definitely did not watch it on VHS. Had the DVD then. I do remember having it. Don't remember much about it until rewatching it, and that is the movie Beer League. This 2006 comedy sport movie is about when a hapless slacker falls in love. He tries to get his softball teammates to change their losing ways before they get expelled from their league.
For Artie DeVanzo.
Oh, nice hustle, Artie.
Life has always been a swing.
What killing? How you doing?
And a miss.
Look at yourself. You're an unemployed
Metaphors.
And you still live with your mother.
I made tiramisu.
Hey, I live with my mom. What the fuck?
Go back inside.
I see you on the field, loser.
Next year, one of you teams is going to have to play in a different league. You jerk decided on the field.
Hey, are we done here? Because I'm losing my buzz.
Step up.
Nice. Like a team.
Shape up.
Oh, my dear Lord.
And sober up.
How about a toast? Huh?
Artie Lang.
What do you say you take one for the team right now, huh?
Ralph Macchio.
You sweat when you eat. So do Babe Ruth.
Did not know that.
Artie Lang's Beer League.
What do you guys want? An egg white omelet made with very little oil, dry wheat toast, and grapefruit juice.
You know, in Massachusetts, that order could legally marry a dude. Now, if you put a construction element on that order, it could join the village people.
If you couldn't tell from this trailer, we're getting into a very problematic movie.
Yeah, you can see where we're headed. Yeah.
Can you? I honestly, I need you to re-say. I don't even. What movie are you watching? Did you watch
Beer League?
Beer League. Oh, I thought you said fairly, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this movie is. Okay, gotcha.
I don't know. You never heard of that either. Yeah.
Beer league. A little bit of beer league softball team who wants to obviously just, be drunks, but apparently they can't be drunks anymore in this league. One of them's going to go out. So
yeah,
therein lies their
conflict. If you get switched to a different league, I mean, that would just change your whole life.
Therein lies our conflict. So without further ado, let's start this bad boy.
And now, our problematic presentation.
Beer league. No gut, no glory.
Oh, shit.
So it starts off with Artie Lang throwing balls up on the roof of his garage, having them fall down, and him hitting into the net for batting practice. Not gonna lie, since the softball, it's kind of genius. Like, never thought about doing that in all my years playing baseball. But again, not a beer league. Drunk.
It works for softball though. Coming off the roof,
right?
At that
You get the arc of the slope. You get the arc of the slope pitch. It's perfect.
I kind of like that.
So I said I don't hate this drunk ingenuity. It's pretty awesome. So he's doing this with a heater in his mouth and giving himself play-by-play. So he's pretty much doing the IG reels before IG reels are a thing. So this kid comes up to the fence, and as he's doing his thing, he is dressed in a baby blue shirt, baby blue shorts, and a baby blue visor, turned sideways and upside down with a silver chain. Holy shit, this outfit does not personify the early 2000s of wannabe gangsters in just one outfit.
I was going to ask you if that was Jamie Kennedy.
It could have been him, like, as a kid. Like, that kid grew up to be Jamie Kennedy for sure. So he drops a bunch of homophobic slurs at him, because again, problematic as fuck in this movie.
Clearly.
Because he's playing softball, and Artie, of course, chases down a 12-year-old, making fun of him. Can't make it to the gate without wheezing, because, he's fat and smoking.
That tracks.
Next, we get Ralph Macchio in, and there's he's got this nice house and his hot wife and her hot pink velour outfit, again, 2000 style personified.
Yeah.
And we get that he takes softball way too seriously, because he's got a nice uniform on, he needs his hat, and he can't be the same player without his hat. And I'm guessing this is the genesis of our movie, Good Team versus the Drunk Losers. But spoiler alert, we'll get to that. It's not necessarily about that, because Ralph Macchio is not on the great team. He's with Artie Lang's team. So
okay, we got a little bit of a buddy situation going on.
Yep. So she's upset because Ralph is missing his daughter's recital for a softball game, and they're postponing their honeymoon for softball. Not gonna lie, she kind of has a point here.
Yeah.
She says she's gonna surprise him with having this little plastic figure on top of the cake, because they're about to get married, and instead of him on the top of the cake, it's gonna be Derek Jeter. She's making so she's mad now. So she says, "I'm not gonna make you Derek Jeter. She's gonna make you one of those Puerto Ricans on the Mets."
Oh shit!
Again, problematic as shit. Strap it on, guys. We're in for a wild one here.
Yeah, Artie Lang,
homophobia, and what I can guess is gonna be a lot of misogyny.
Well, I would hope. I mean. Don't skimp on the third one. I mean,
next is the note I said I'm wrong. Ralph and Artie on the same team, and another old guy on the team calls some of the Italians on the other team another ethnic slur. I'm 3 minutes in this movie already, and we're gonna set a world record for slurs and problematic people.
And I've watched shit from the 50s and 60s, and I've never run into this.
All right, so Artie yells.
Casually dropped the N-word back then.
Artie yells, and I said, I have to know that he is fucking Joe, because he comes out onto the field and says, "Hey, anyone who doesn't do a pregame shot at me is a fucking pussy."
That's Joe.
It's pretty much Joe all of Brontoberfest. Hey, do a drink, drink. The amount of Italian stereotypes being portrayed in this movie is astonishing. The antagonist is named Manganiello, has his hair slicked back, owns a gym, fucks his clients for form of payment for their membership fees. He's a real class act. So then we get a pissing contest between Artie and Manganiello about
literal pissing contest, or
it pretty much is because it
proverbial.
Okay, cool. It's with Artie Lang. They might literally be trying to piss over a fence and see who can get it. I needed to clarify. Carry on.
That's fair.
So they're having a pissing contest about which Italian names they fucked in high school. They're just talking about different girls they fucked, but it's every Italian girl, Brandy, Amberlynn, all that stuff that they're just naming all. It's again just amount of.
Amber Lynn is an Italian woman's name.
I was doing that part was from Ted. They have like a white trash name of it.
Got you. Oh, I see. Okay.
But they just name every Italian name, Tanya, all that shit. All right, so Artie steps to the plate, and one of the guys on the bench does a little play-by-play as he comes to and says he steps to the plate with a 0.16 blood alcohol level. For you kids scoring at home, that is an impressive twice the legal limit.
That's actually what I was gonna say there. That's good. Good get.
I'm not gonna lie, I laughed at that one. So the old guy on the team calls him a fat fucking disgrace. He gets thrown out at the first. He gets thrown out at first from left field. That is an impressive amount of terribleness.
Okay.
And so then when he's pitching, a ground ball goes between the legs of the third baseman, and he says he disappoints him more than his kids. This old guy's becoming my favorite character. A lot more piston contests going on in a fight between Artie and Manganiello break out. They get locked up, and the old guy tells the big guy on the other team, "Don't eyeball me, that tall guy. When I was in the joint, I fuck guys bigger than you." This movie is fucking unhinged. The captain of the police force tells them again the loser of the league has to go because he's sick of all this fighting. They're saying they're fucked, but Ralph says all they have to do is practice, and Artie says practice is for, you guessed it, another homophobic slur. The captain then asks, does anyone know, or anyone who's not an asshole, have any questions? The one black guy pops up from behind the bars and says, yeah, why am I the only one locked up? They all look at each other like, that's a good question. They're like, why is he? So they go to a bar because that's what they need is more drinks. Then to a diner where more homophobic remarks are made about the egg white omelet, which you just heard.
Yes.
There's definitely way more worse homophobic slurs and that can lead.
Yeah, that's what made the trailer. Yeah.
That was allowed.
That's the one the studio was like, it's okay, guys, put that one in. That
I do have a complaint though, or an agreement with some of the statement. Who the fuck orders dry toast?
What is the alternative to dry toast? Wet toast?
But does that mean? I think he means he doesn't want any butter on it. But who wants just a piece of toast? That's weird.
Somebody maybe with high blood pressure. Not
Ralph Macchio. He doesn't have high blood pressure. He's Cobra Kai. No, he's not Cobra. He's Miyagi Do.
True.
So
he's a lot of things, but yes.
So Artie takes this girl Linda home because she's been in this diner twice and she was trashed both times, and both times they banged. So he's planning on going 3 for 3, and guess what? He does. She's disgusted with herself, rightfully so, because look at Artie Lang. She says he only likes her because they fuck, and he says that's not true, and they should go out on a real date. Forgot to mention that he has no job and lives at home with his mom. More of a reason for her to be disgusted and not pursue anything with him, but I'm going to limb and say she does. Cut to a date at an Italian restaurant, because where else would the Italian stereotypes go to eat? After the date, she's about to give him a blowjob, and as she goes down on him, his mom walks to the car and says she made them tiramisu and it's in the fridge when they're ready. Mom's being a cockblock in this movie on a whole new level. So he gets a job with a landscaping company. He almost dies cutting 1 yard because he's fat and out of shape. Cut to another game, and Artie is talking about how he's going to hit a home run to win it, and said grounds to the game inning double play. This old guy comes up to him and says, seeing you hit into the double play makes me wish I was 35 years younger. So Artie cuts him off, says, I know, so you can kick my ass. He says, I can kick your ass now, but 35 years ago I could have loaned your parents the money for an abortion.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so you see why I asked about the pissing contest now, because
it's legit.
It's like a 4 out of 10 on
totally.
Yeah.
So this is the point where I looked up who this guy was. He's played by Seymour Cassell. He's a bit actor who's been like 200 different things. If you saw him, you'd recognize him.
Okay.
So they go back to the bar, and Joe would not be a fan of this place. Big sign in the back says no gambling. So
shit.
he's out of this bar. He tells Ralph he's getting kind of serious with Linda and that he wants to know her number. And I'm curious if that's still a thing with people. Do people worry about that anymore? What's a girl's number or what's a guy's number?
Probably some kind of messaging app, I would assume. It's like, here's my WhatsApp, or I don't know what I mean, the kids use these days.
No, not phone number. Their number with men.
Oh, yeah. That's talked about online all the time. I don't know if you ask somebody about that. Like, you're not like, "Hi, my name's Jeremy. What's your number?"
Yeah, how many people have you banged, lady?
Like, yeah, totally.
I gotta know.
I'm done. Nope.
Yeah, I gotta know where we stand here. It's
And honestly, like, I'm 51 years old. If somebody asked me what my number was, like, I'm spitballing at this point. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Like cholesterol? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, totally.
I think it's looking pretty good right now.
I know when I'm in hypertension, my blood pressure is 178/90.
Yeah, you're talking blood sugar, because that I'd have to check. But
Right.
Yeah, no. Which number are we talking about, lady?
All right, so they say they need to practice in order to win. Cue a practice montage like it's the Bad News Bears with adults who use homophobic slurs left and right. That's what the kind of montage you're getting. Well, that's actually just the Bad News. Okay, yeah. He cuts I suck cock on Manganiello's yard. Nothing in that story, just thought it was really fun, fitting for the movie because, again, homophobia. Well, let's put that in the yard. Cut to a bachelor party. Coke is being done. Strippers are stripping. A girl is shooting ping pong balls out of her vagina, and they're hitting the balls with a wiffle bat. What an amazing time! That would be an amazing
would
time.
Be a good. I feel
good bachelor party.
I was just gonna say. I wish you would have seen this before Rontoberfest. I could have moved some things around.
Then Manganiello shows up and tells Ari to say hi to Linda for me. He gave her a few free memberships in his office. Implicating that he's banged her. And then cue the spiral because he's an immature 35-year-old man who lives at home with his mom.
Right. We're doing the whole Lumberg.
Yeah, the Lumberg thing. Yeah. He's all bitter and, he can't. So there is so much yingling being drank in this movie. It's not even funny. Like, that's all they're drinking is yingling. Nice. He says he's doing fine, but of course he's not. Or he doesn't need to worry about getting a date for the wedding. Cut to him calling all his high school flings, and he strikes out with every single one of them. He says he has one last girl he can call and calls the pitching machine, the stripper who shoots ping pong balls. That's her name, the pitching machine. She's doing coke while they're driving to the wedding. Crashes, gets arrested. He misses the wedding. Cue the third act fight with Ralph and Artie because he's selfish. Ralph is getting tired of his childish bullshit. All that stuff. Oh shit, the old guy dies while they're fighting. And of course it leads to them making up because, why wouldn't it? Because life's too short.
Well, life's short, yeah.
So they get shit-faced at a bar after the funeral and show up to the championship drunk as shit, still in their suits. Clearly too hammered to play. Does a comeback happen because they're really fucking drunk? Do they win? Do they lose? Who knows? Because, I'll leave that ending for you to watch. And if you don't want to watch it, you're going to be left in suspense because you're not going to know who wins this league because I'm not telling you.
Yeah, I won't know.
Wow.
I feel extorted.
I'm on a cliffhanger here. Like with the review of the movie with all the homophobia and sophomore jokes, I really need the payoff. So
right, I'm invested in these guys now that we've connected.
Yeah, gotta see who this pitching machine chick is.
That's true.
I'll give you a hint.
She does.
It is like the Bad News Bears. It's exactly the Bad News Bears, because if you know about the ending of the Bad News Bears, you can figure out the ending.
Jesus Christ, spoiler alert.
Maybe people don't know what the Bad News Bears are, so maybe this didn't spoil anything.
That's fair. I like the idea of a pod in 2024 spoiling the end of Bad News Bears, though.
Right.
Yeah.
1978 or whatever it was.
Again,
the movie's older than Justin.
They played in fucking bell bottoms. It was ridiculous.
All right, let's rank this.
All right.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. There's actually some moments that I laughed out loud again about the abortion joke. It's really funny, but obviously I can see why 2006 me was watching this. It's not for 2024 me. It's just way too cheap of try to do laughs. Again, a couple of parts of me laugh, so I'm gonna give it a medium, but no salt, no butter.
Medium popcorn, no salt, no butter. Homophobe.
Homophobe.
Well, I am kind of curious. What did you hit on this one?
I did not like.
Okay. So it couldn't
Maybe I'm just
overcome.
way too high and laughing at the jokes that I thought was funnier now than I did before. So
Wait, you thought they were funny?
I almost
Okay, I
skew
see
my
what you're saying.
review. I almost skew my review.
did. You
Because
did.
of my mental state now.
That happened
Wow.
with Black Mama, White Mama. We went through the review and I got done and I was like, wait a minute, how did I not fucking love this? This is just MASH like. I had to change my review later.
All right, so we went off our normal wheel. I asked our guest, Yikes, if we should do a certain theme, whatever, certain actor, certain genre, whatever, for his wheel. Since he is a repeat guest, we figured we did the normal wheel for him the first time. We should, give him a chance to do a little wild card. You, sir, had the most random of wild cards to choose from, and you chose this. Why? What did you like? You landed on Tony Shalhoub to look up. Why?
I didn't land on him because I didn't put him into the logarithm. And thanks for the introduction. I'm just happy to be here. But I will add, I sat there and I thought, do I want to watch action or horror or something kind of like a Hallmark Channel love story?
Right.
And I was suddenly hit from the power of the almighty above or something. And Tony Shalhoub just popped into my mind. And I think it's because somebody had referenced something. I said something to somebody and they were like, that reminds me of Monk. And I was like, a monk? And they went, no, the show Monk. And I did like that show.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. I just want to interrupt this really quickly. We're currently in the midst of the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, and I have the sound off, but Michael Irvin is on my screen, and sitting next to Jerry Jones, and oh my God, who is this cast? But Michael Irvin was as animated as Jim Carrey in Pet Detective. He is shaking and and Jerry Jones is looking extremely morbid. But anyway, so that I ended up on Tony Shalhoub because it just came to mind, and I thought, well, it would be really cool to watch. I'm kind of like in a good place, and I always enjoy him because he's like an intelligent, thoughtful man.
Underrated.
Severely
Severely underrated.
Good actor. Very, very like a thinking's man character. So I sent that off. I put his name in, I screenshotted it, and you guys spun the wheel, and I ended up with the 2006 Mel Gibson movie Payback. The funny thing about that is that I still don't know why that movie showed up in anything related to Tony Shalhoub.
Right.
He is not in the movie. He doesn't look like anybody in the movie, but I will add that one of the fun things about watching this movie is Joe Vegas, our dear friend, said that he understood why the logarithm gave it to me because there's a very, very shady and dirty version of Tony Shalhoub in this movie, and maybe a logarithm thought it was him. So I got to watch the movie with trying to spot who the logarithm actually thought Tony Shalhoub was in the 2006 movie Payback.
Right, why they would.
Added wrinkle to this for sure.
All right, well.
I have a problem.
Yeah, you got a bunch of problems, Mel Gibson. We'll get to some of them.
There's a man in my office with a gun who says that he's going to kill me if we don't pay him back $130,000 that one of our lieutenants stole from him.
70. It's 70. Look.
How much is this guy Carter worth to you?
What do you mean?
My money, yes or no?
No. Not many men know what their life's worth.
That's Chris Christopherson.
I do. It was 70 grand. That's what they took from me.
Oh!
That's what I was gonna get back. They weren't wearing their seatbelts.
You're one hell of a mosquito.
To get rid of you, I'll swat you with 130 grand.
It's not 100.
Hey, perfect. Yes, it's all right. He's just killing my alligator bags and shooting holes in my suit. Man, that's just mean. That's mean, man.
This February,
Hubba, hubba, hubba.
get ready.
Everything working out?
Oh, yeah. To root for the bad guy.
You're crazy. That's why I love you.
You signed your own death warrant for $130,000. What is it? The principal or something? Stop it. I'm getting misty. And tell him it's 70, will you? Mel Gibson.
What do you mean it's only 70? Only 70,000? Well, my suits are worth more than that.
Payback.
Careful, boy. He might bite you back.
Get around it! Big payback! Gotta get around
They
it!
said it. How long was that trailer?
I think that's the full 90.
You know what? I probably the full 90 minutes because it was like 131 minutes, so it was really close. It was an hour and 31 minutes, and honestly, I could have probably just watched the trailer and summarized what I got here in front of me.
I was gonna say the trailer makes it kind of sold me. I was like, okay, maybe this is it a
The
piece
trailer
of
sold
shit?
me back when it came out. So I watched when it came out. That's the last time I watched it, but the trailer sold me too.
Well, where do we begin?
Well, I'm ready to find out. I'll tell you what.
Okay.
And now, our Tony Shalhoub free presentation.
So my first note on Payback was something that I was thinking about because I honestly don't. I was trying to think. I actually have the year wrong. I called this a 2016 movie. This movie came out in 1999.
Oh,
so
no shit.
we're about 10 years removed from, a little bit more than 10 years removed from, him playing Riggs on Lethal Weapon, which, is arguably one of the more interesting, cop characters in cinematic, at least in my lifetime.
Yeah, wild card.
Yeah, total wild card character.
Clearly not afraid to die.
Not afraid to die.
Yeah, nothing to live for.
And there's many themes here. So there's not I'll just summarize this in saying this is basically Riggs's character. Like this is Riggs, except Riggs isn't funny. Okay. He's not super crazy. He's more methodical. And so the truth of this is that the things that we liked about Riggs, here he is, and he's wholeheartedly not likable from the get-go. That might just in general be what I would say about every fucking character in this movie. This is not a movie where you're sitting here looking for somebody to identify with. And I'm assuming that it's supposed to be Mel Gibson, but
right,
all these people were a total piece of shit. Maybe one woman in here is not a piece of shit, but they're all total pieces of shit. I actually texted Joe. I was like, wow, he's a really big piece of shit. And Joe just texted back, everybody's a piece of shit. And that's pretty much true. So,
okay. Yeah.
Anyway, my first note from this movie is, and real quick, we'll just summarize. This guy is a former, it says in here that even though it doesn't really talk about this in the movie, is that apparently Mel Gibson in this thing, and I did watch the director's cuts. They might have left some of this out. Is that he's a career thief and a former U.S. Marine. Okay. So that's kind of the backstory on him. Long story short, he is wronged in this movie for $70,000. That's the premise. He is trying to get his $70,000 back, and he doesn't want any more or less.
Yeah, not 130.
No,
He's very
not 130.
clear.
He's very clear about this.
Mm-hmm.
So my first note, and this is kind of my thought going into watching a Mel Gibson movie, and this is why watching this was not hard, is that the best part of watching playback is it honestly required like zero suspension of belief to think that his character, Porter, is like a hateful, resentful character and a total fucking piece of shit, because so is Mel Gibson. So that's my first note. He
sells it, man.
He really, like, I really don't think he needed to spend a lot of time researching this role. You know, this is not a Daniel Day-Lewis situation.
No, I'll do method. It's fine.
Yeah. So the idea is that this man is justified for going after these $70,000 that he's being robbed with. The opening part of this movie is that he steals from the homeless.
Oh, Jesus.
So like, like here's a conundrum, right? He's immediately walking down the street and he steals money out of the guy's at busking for money, and he's just walking down the street and he steals the guy's money. Like, that's the opening scene. So
you're a piece of shit.
Again,
I'm supposed to like this guy.
He doesn't want any more than $70,000,
but also
he wants this fucking homeless guy's $2.
Yeah, I also want everything that guy fucking has.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm thinking this movie was being shot, and he walked on the set randomly in the wrong studio.
They were just running camera.
He stole some guy's change. He's like, you know what? We're gonna build a premise off this movie right now, and then he just like, just be yourself.
Like,
get yourself, Mel.
Yeah, get some B-roll of that homeless guy. Oh, here comes Mel.
That was just Mel approaching the set of the movie on the first day of filming, and they were like, you know what? That clicks. That works.
You got that right, Gary. We're gonna put that.
So like in the first 10 minutes, he steals from the homeless. He steals somebody's identity and he assaults a woman. Like this is the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Again,
okay.
I don't think he knew he was in a movie. I don't think.
Yeah. At some point, we're wondering if this is just what was that movie where they go out in the woods and we couldn't tell if it was like a fake movie or a real.
Oh, The Village.
The Village. It was before that. It was
Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, this is like Mel Gibson's Blair Witch Project movie. So anyway, like that they're going to try to make this guy look better than he is, because there's no way you're going to stick with this for an hour and 35 minutes, right? But they don't do that much. And one of the things that they do is after he assaults this woman who is his wife, by the way, his ex-wife, who actually wronged him and shot him, which when I watch more of this movie, I'm like, that bitch
maybe I see why. Yeah, totally. Right. Like, he earned that.
So there's this point in the movie, like early on, where he's kind of like showering, and I always think shower scenes are interesting because they're trying to wash like whatever is the character we just watched. The shower is like we're washing this off of him, right?
Right.
And my note was the soundtrack to Porter being a good guy deep down when he is showering sounds like me noodling on my guitar while drunkenly stomping on a chorus pedal. That is the soundtrack. I was like, what is this guitar noodling? And this is Porter's soul. It's a free jazz guitar noodle.
You know, you can really see to my core when I'm naked in the shower and just all.
So his buddy at this time in crime, before this happens, he flashes back to this after his wife dies of an overdose. So this movie's really off to a whomping. He assaults her and then she dies of a heroin overdose. But like we flash back to his buddy Val, and Val is like the guy he's got these resentments against. I shit you not, Val to me in this movie in 1999 looks like a younger version of Elon Musk. I don't know why I thought this. Maybe I'm just like, I see too much of him. And I wrote down, and this is what he looks like to me. It looks like Elon Musk if he was on meth and not space age ketamine and not eating at the Liver King buffet. Like this guy was like a skinnier version of Elon Musk. It really, so again, we're off to a great start. Don't like anybody, after his wife ODs, he kind of gets on the trail. Long story short, his wife shot him, and this guy Val double crossed him because he stole from the Asian crime syndicate. They stole $140,000. Val took 40. They were supposed 140. Porter was supposed to get 70, and that's what he wants back. So this whole movie about him getting 70 grand back is because his wife shot him, left him for dead, and she went off with Val. Val is his old buddy. This is the guy who looks like Elon Musk in the past. So anyway, he gets on the trail of all this, and this punk messenger kid comes in. He's the heroin dealer. So like Porter's got to figure out the trail of like how to get to Val. I shit you not, this messenger kid looks exactly like Scott Evil. Like he looks like right out of Austin Powers, like Dr. Evil's son. But he's even more obnoxious, like if Scott Evil was like in the band Alien Ant Farm. Like it's amazing. So long story short, this whole movie is basically, I just think it's really funny because obviously I have been going through a lot of stuff. And so my focus on myself lately has been like dealing with my resentments and my past so they don't influence my behavior so I can be a better person. So I got a movie that is focused on a guy who doesn't deal with the resentments in the past. And he's basically acting like a total asshole. And we're supposed to get behind this guy. But fair enough. We move on. He finally ends up finding this guy, Val. And when he originally finds him, he's in bed with Pearl, who is Lucy Liu. Oh. And boy, let me tell you,
I like that for him. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that for him too. So like he's got Val at gunpoint, and Lucy Liu is in bed with him. And as he's got this guy, Val, at gunpoint in bed, fucking Pearl, Lucy Liu, is fucking totally fondling this guy and grabbing his nipples. Nice. Like she's turned on by the fact that Mel Gibson's about to murk this guy. It's amazing. She's in like a push-up bra and leather pants, and this is the moment in the movie where I realize I am very single. So anyway, there wasn't a lot of like, there wasn't any homophobia. There was definitely like a notice, like not a lot of like racist stuff or like that's not any part of the movie that bugged me. Like it didn't seem so caught in the past that it was littered with all of these things that made movies problematic, with the exception of assaulting women and whatnot, which was a huge deal, and they kind of dealt with this in the director's cut. But there is a point after Lucy Liu ends up beating the shit out of this guy Val in front of Mel Gibson, and she turns to Porter, Mel Gibson's character, and says, "I've got a few minutes," very seductively. And Porter looks at her in the face and says, "So go boil an egg." And I thought, is that like just like a kind of childish thing, or is that maybe racism? I don't know. I'm not sure, and I'll move on. So anyway, long story short, in this trailer that you played for us, there's a guy named Carter. It's the scene where Mel Gibson basically shoots this guy. Carter is like a henchman of Chris Christopherson's character Bronson, who's kind of the head of this. But in the director's cut, they make a woman, Bronson's wife, is technically the head crime boss, though we never see her. We only hear her on the phone. Oh. So Fred Carter's talking to Bronson's wife on this call. And I look at this character, this actor's name is William Devane. And I immediately recognized him because I refer to this guy simply as Teeth. He has just big old teeth. And if you look him up, you'd know it because I recognized him, believe it or not, Ron Broback, Knots Landing.
Oh, shit.
I recognize him from the soap opera Knots Landing. And I also recognized him from, I think it was, I have it in here somewhere. It is Marathon Man. He was also the president in The Dark Knight Rises. He was somebody, he's been around, but again, I just know him from his teeth. Man, now, the funny thing is that, as we heard, Porter shoots him and then later ends up with Bronson. And Bronson's like, "Hey, you shot this guy, Carter." And he says, "Well, that four-toothed buck bastard is probably better off dead anyways, which I think is my favorite line from the movie. So I'm thinking this guy, I only know this guy as Teeth, and then they make fun of this guy's teeth in the movie.
That's delightful.
Fucking fabulous. So anyway, long story short, we're still chasing down 70 grand. We go through a few people. Now the Asian crime syndicate is back on him because he stole the money originally from them. And I figured out this guy is David Paymer, who Joe thinks is Tony Shalhoub. You'd recognize him from other things for sure. But there is a scene in here where the Asian crime syndicate rolls up on him in a car, and he's in this car with Stegman, and he uses Stegman as a meat shield against the Asian crime syndicate. And they own like at least like 100 to 200 rounds of semi-automatics just into this guy, and it doesn't hit Porter.
Yeah, it doesn't go through. Yeah.
Like this guy's like the biggest meat shield on the. What's that? Not a single one. No.
Not a single one.
The long story short is he ends up in a train station. He's supposed to get 70 grand. The guy who tries to give it to him says 140. We're doing this fucking 70 grand thing again.
I don't want 140. Yeah.
I also forgot to note that there is a scene. There is a scene in here where a dog gets shot, and Mel Gibson is in the room, and I immediately thought, are you fucking kidding me? What is with Mel Gibson and his dogs getting shot? This wasn't his dog, but that happened in Lethal Weapon 2, remember? Somebody shot his fucking dog. So here we are with another dog shot in a Mel Gibson movie. Don't know why that's going on.
Because he's such a shitty person, the only way they can buy him any pathos is to kill an innocent fucking dog brutally. And even then, it only works 50% of the fucking time.
Right. So the long story short is he gets his money at the end, but at the very end, when he's getting at the train station, and mind you, like in this quest to get a 70 grand back, he kills at least like 25 people, so it's really hard to understand like what's going on here. And at the very end, there's a hit person on, you don't see this coming, but he gets shot by a woman. And he's dragged off at the very end, and he's about to die. And another woman from the movie who is an old friend ends up saving him, and that's kind of how it ends. We don't know if he lives. We know he got the 70 grand. He might have died. Everybody else died. And that's kind of where we're at with that. Wow. So my note on this also is there are only two people in the movie that shoot Porter, a.k.a. Mel Gibson. They are both women. Nobody else shot him.
His ex-wife, trend.
His wife shot him, and the person that the final end boss at the end to get his 70 grand is a woman who shot him, and we don't know who she is. But like that's funny. He ends up taking out cops, the Asian crime syndicate, other criminals. But the only two people to ever get him are women. I don't know what to say about that other than just I found that fascinating. My final thoughts on this are, and I know this is a fun podcast, but like this movie is really challenging in a way because we really want a hero, right? Like some movies, I suppose,
redeeming character.
I suppose we want a hero, but
future Ron, put in Chad Kroger hero.
But the point is that this movie doesn't have a hero, and I just made a note, like kind of like this kind of was a failure in a way where and I get it, they tried to recreate a Riggs character, but he didn't have any of the fun or the wildness or the humor. He was humorless and he was driven. And the idea is that he's driven by justice.
Right.
And
it's funny because he only wants that little bit of money, and that's what makes it hilarious.
Right. And justice, like, it has a major cost. And so I kind of just wrote that, like, like this is one of those movies where like the concept of justice forgives all. Yeah, and we're kind of left with like, can we buy into that or not? I'm not buying into that.
It's a righteous murdering spree.
It's right.
Righteous
kind of I kind of been like reading some philosophy, and I wrote down, and I think this is true. It's definitely in the state of the world we're in, but like justice is never perfect. Perfection is the enemy of good, and good is often the enemy of the best. So justice is very, very, very rarely ever altruistic. And that's okay. That's justice. But killing people over 70 grand and stealing some homeless guy's $2.
Yeah, 70,002. Yeah,
yes,
dick
yes.
move.
So there's nobody really noble in this. And the truth is that I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, do you got a rating for us?
I'll take a medium popcorn, salt, and butter, and my popcorn tastes like resentment.
A medium popcorn, salt, butter, and resentment.
You know what I'm gonna do after this fight tonight? I'm gonna watch some fucking Tony Shalhoub.
Well, you deserve some. You deserve some. God damn it.
I should have put that in my popcorn.
Yeah, and some Tony Shalhoub. And some Tony Shalhoub. You left that out, you dicks. Well, speaking of movies that have been left out, by the time I got to mine, it was no longer on Tubi. So I had to find an alternate route of watching it. I did the whole review. And by the time I got it done and printed out, I came home, and I'll be damned with a stick if it wasn't back on Tubi already. So
I went for
something that you may or may not have texted me would happen.
Yeah, my last two movies, I believe, have both done this to me, and left and came back. But I have a movie called Holy Moses with a WH. Holy Moses, like completely Moses. Moses in total. It's a June 30th, 1980 comedy. A tourist in Israel finds an old scroll, the Book of Herschel, about a false savior who is upstaged by Moses.
You all know the story of Moses? Well, this is the story of Herschel, who floated down the Nile with Moses. He might have had Moses' job, but he just didn't have the right connections.
Holy Moses. The man was phenomenal. He split the Red Sea in half. I mean, zip down the middle, cover quick, and no excuses.
Holy Moses, what a comedy, what a cast.
Rated PG.
Start soon at a theater near Lee.
Yeah, you might have recognized some voices in there, namely Richard Pryor. So that piqued my interest. Yeah, so I think they've done a pretty good job of setting us up. So I'm not going to delay it anymore. Let's fucking let's do this in there. Yeah. And now our feature presentation. All right, so Dudley Moore is a tourist on a tour of the Holy Land. He's hesitant to get on the bus, so he stalls and is shut in the door of the bus and then is being dragged as it drives away. Apparently, he is on this tour because he always takes a vacation when a relationship ends. And we know this because he won't shut the fuck up about it. So now we find out that he's only there because of a mix-up, and there's actually some rabbi chilling in Paris while he's stuck in the goddamn desert. So he's annoying the shit out of Lorraine Newman on the bus. When they get out, her hat flies away, and they apparently go to look for it high up on the rocks. They find a cave. They discover scrolls. It's in Aramaic. It's over 3,000 years old. And, of course, he can fucking read it because he's a language professor. So he rolls out this dry 3,000-year-old papyrus scroll. Not only does it not crack into pieces, but it's perfectly goddamn legible. So now we get a dissolve to the flashback of apparently the things that are happening on this goddamn scroll. All right. So apparently everybody sent babies down the river in baskets in these days because we get a second one shortly after Moses is launched. Apparently this is Herschel. and I am starting to think we're going to have a Life of Brian situation. Apparently his plan, the father's plan was for the Pharaoh's daughter to find his son, and he would somehow turn that into a windfall. But instead they find Moses, so he has to run downriver trying to catch his fucking kid in a basket. But he is found by someone else and adopted. So apparently after losing his kid, he sells himself into slavery to the family that found the kid so that he can stay with him. Fucking touching. Jump to the future. Dudley Moore is now the adult baby who's apparently a sculptor or some shit. He sculpts various gods. I guess all different kinds of gods. But I am reminded right away that I have never liked Dudley Moore. And he plays like a more toned-down version of Davy Jones. And frankly, I would rather watch Davy Jones.
Okay.
But there's a pretty funny scene where they actually get robbed. And Dudley Moore, this sculptor of various gods, calls on one of the gods depicted on the statue to intervene, and it doesn't happen. So the robbers tell the slave father to say his piece with Dudley, who is about to be killed. So he tries to tell him the truth. And he stammers and, son, there's something you need to know. And he drags it on and finally they're like, all right, fuck you, leave. So he doesn't even get to tell him as he's about to be murdered. But they, of course, get out of this. But he decides to quit sculpting. And eventually he winds up landing a gig as the Pharaoh's stargazer. A gig that's open because the Pharaoh keeps killing all the priests. So they're looking for someone else to take the wrath when shit gets fucked up. So we've got a decent scene where Dudley Moore is supposed to be hosting an orgy, but Ramses, the king, calls him to the front lines of the war, so he's going to have to miss out on the orgy. At this point, the slave father finally tells him the truth, and there's a decent bit where Dudley says, well, my father's a slave. That means that I am a slave. Well, of course, I see no point in joining their ranks, and I wouldn't be any good at it anyway. So, I guess I'm not going to keep the family.
I love the idea that, like, in the past, like, the two things that you got to choose to do was either, like, go to war or have an orgy.
Well, you gotta be the king's stargazer, right?
Okay, but still. I mean, I love those options.
Yeah, there were options. That's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
So they take him... So they take him to the front lines. Of course, the whole ride there, he's making excuses about why they need to go back. So here we meet the young Ramses. This kid is basically him doing his Richard Pryor impersonation. Because Richard Pryor plays the old Ramses. And the kid is not bad. Pretty solid Richard Pryor. So Dudley Moore predicts victory, and the Pharaoh tells him that if the army dies, but Dudley Moore lives, he's going to kill him anyway, so he had better be right. Then we've got a very shitty capture scene where everyone gets killed in a hail of arrows, but Dudley Moore just lying under a pile of sideways arrows and stands up as everyone's dead. And capture that guy. But he wanders into the desert. And he runs into Dom DeLuise, who's as Shadrach. Seems like there was a lot of... Yes. Seems like there was a lot of wandering through the desert in the 80s. Is that a track for you, Yikes?
Like
scenes in movies.
Yeah.
Like it came up a lot.
It was like guys these days are talking about the Roman Empire, but dudes in the 80s were talking about wandering around in the desert.
Right. And quicksand. It just seemed
quicksand, yes.
It came up a lot. I was really worried that I was going to have
quicksand would be a problem growing up. Like, I thought I was going to find it somewhere on the beach one day, and then I was going to die. Like,
I'd be prepared.
I was like, I'm going to die. Like,
I know how to get out of it because I'm
Justin, do you think that if you mention quicksand to your kids, they would even know what that is?
Not a clue.
No,
We used to be a proper country.
We did.
I mean, maybe that's my recollection. I'm glad to have some backup.
No, you're right on, Ron.
Okay. So he keeps wandering. He runs into a dude in a tent in the desert. And, of course, he reconnects with Lorraine Newman. Not sure how she's the love interest in a movie that has Madeline Kahn, but whatever. So He says he will marry her, and the father gives them their own piece of land and a tent. A tent which is up the side of a rocky hill at a 45-degree angle. Oh, Andrea Martin. We have another SCTV alum.
Ooh.
She's playing Lorraine Newman's older sister, who Lorraine Newman goes to for advice on her wedding night. She doesn't know what to do. Oh, she says, I understand. Well, on your wedding night, you will do in your bed what the sheep do in the fields, as they're sheep herders. So that gives us a pretty funny scene where he comes home to the tent and has to climb a rope up the 45-degree incline to get to the bed. He blows out the torch and gets into bed, and then through the darkness we hear, meh. Which was the first laugh out loud moment of the movie for me. I did not see the sheep joke coming. But jump ahead, as he's watching the field, she comes up behind him and makes sheep noises, and he says, not now, dear. So apparently Moses, this is where fucking Moses comes back in, has married one of the other sisters. But I'm assuming that's a common name, so maybe it's a different Moses? I don't know. They never actually tell you. So he has to take, Herschel has to take the rest of the sheep up the mountain, and oh shit, when he gets to the top, he hears God. So we are having a Life of Brian situation. He comes around the corner where we can see Moses leaving God's presence. And Herschel walks around thinking everything he heard was for him. Holy shit, he just overheard God talking. Take off your shoes in my presence. So he's around the corner and takes them off anyway. And he's like, oh, all right, I'm talking to God. So he comes around the corner. Now Dudley Moore is trying to extinguish the burning bush. This is actually pretty fucking good, considering all the denouncing of various gods that he has done to this point after the robbery scene. Seems like they're calling back to this. The next scene is actually very good. He comes down the hill, and the first thing Lorraine Newman says is, did you lose your good sandals? What took you so long? I was talking to God. I had a feeling that was it, is what she says. It's like, did you tell him?
Not the sandals.
Yeah,
but
like, did you tell him I said hi? Like, no, dear, I didn't think to. So he does his God impersonation. I said leaks confidence and says, well, I'd have to hear him a few more times to get it down. So okay, Dudley Moore's kind of starting to win me over. He's on his way. So now he's obviously got to go deliver his people from Egypt because that's what God told him to do. And do you know how? His wife asks. That's a solid question.
Wait a minute. Like she asks him, like, do you have any idea how you're going to save these people and deliver them from Egypt?
He says, I need to deliver my people from Egypt. And she's like, oh.
And what was his response?
Do you know how?
And he didn't know.
Fair enough. Yeah. So they're about to cross a tiny, and I do mean tiny, fucking stream, and the water stops, which he proclaims is a miracle. But now we cut to upstream, where they are just now pulling the rocks from the temporary dam that they've just built. So, comedy gold, and I said stream. They could have stepped over it when it was flowing. It was,
of course.
Yeah, comedically perfect. So now he comes upon a blind beggar who says he will make see again and walk. But clearly the guy's a fucking grifter who can see and walk already and keeps trying to tell him not to bother. But by the end, he's openly saying, you're going to mess this up for me, as Dudley is totally oblivious and heals him. And now his grift is over. He can walk and see. So Lorraine Newman is fucking killing this movie. So after healing the villager, a local tries to get Dudley to stick around and deal with the giant that terrorizes them. I think you should talk to him, Herschel, she says. So he does. In true David versus Goliath fashion, he brings a sling and a rock and apparently hits him in the dick. Which that actually causes the local guy trying to keep him in town to revolt and say, you shouldn't have hit him there. You shouldn't have hit him there. So he gets a second rock, swings it around, smashes himself in the back of the head as the other guy starts screaming, false prophet. and cut to a voiceover. The giant stepped heavily upon the village. Those who weren't squashed flat rose up against Herschel, and he was sold into slavery. We are now at the 1 hour mark. So he's thrown into a pit where he sees an angel who makes it clear that no, he's not saved. He's actually quite forsaken. So call back to his impression of God, which the angel flips out over. That is uncanny. You have him down pat. So the angel says that he's actually under strict instructions not to lift a finger to help him. And since Dudley won't drink with him, he's out. But Dudley grabs his leg on the way out. Hey, you can't do that. Yes, I can. And he lifts him out of the pit where the angel tells him where to go to find his wife. So this is where he meets Madeline Kahn. She's a witch with a wagon. She picks him up, and she is having a moment in this era, man. She's just movie after movie in these bit parts, and she's crushing him. So he needs to get to New Sodom. Yeah, that's what they're calling it now.
New Sodom?
Yeah. That's what they're calling it after it was destroyed, she says. They rebuilt it. It's wicked as ever.
I'm more of an old Sodom guy.
Yeah, no, New Sodom. They really brought it. But she does know of his wife. She's hooking up with a giant. Oh, shit. We got to get there fast. How much longer is it? I don't know. You'd have to ask your wife. So she just dumps him off the cart down the hill towards New Sodom, and man, they've got everything, including saucy puppet shows. But he sees the angel from earlier and chases after him, stumbles into a room full of angels, and they're all going to destroy the city again. Well, what about me? God's spoken to me, he says, and the angel tees him up to do his impression of God, which he declines to do, sadly. Comedy comes in threes. If it's not here, you better bring it back later. So he finds his wife, and he gets her out of there and says, so, it was true about you and the giant. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, she says, as they show a giant-ass pair of whitey-tighties hanging in the background. Yeah, that was a pretty solid joke. And as they escape... But same deal as Lot. You can't look back or you're turned into a pillar of salt. He doesn't tell her that. So she looks back and is turned into a pillar of salt. Apparently, he's not going to leave her behind, though, and takes his salt wife with him. And who should come out from behind the rock but John Ritter as the fucking devil.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Whole city up in smoke. Man, what a temper. Yeah, totally puts God in perspective, man. Shouldn't you be in hell? Oh, everyone in that city was damned. I'm just here to pick them all up. That's his whole scene. Then in Egypt, he's reunited with his father by accident and finds out that Moses was the chosen one, and he's already begun the plagues. And he's got to get an immediate audience with the Pharaoh to clear this up because he was chosen. That's a mistake. So now we're about to get our Richard Pryor appearance. Pryor is crushing it, and I dare say he is heavy on the coke here. I'm gonna have to do a little research and see if this is before or after.
I was gonna say, how are you gonna do that research, Ron?
Well, you remember that date I mentioned earlier, June 13th, 1980?
Yes.
That's the release date of the movie, and I'm sure you're familiar with the famous Richard Pryor setting himself on fire incident. That was June 9th of 1980. So
hey, that's my birthday. I was 7.
Oh, shit. Man, Richard Pryor, you gotta make a wish and put him out.
Blow his candle.
Yeah, so this movie wrapped up filming January 25th, 80. Richard is fried, and you can see it in his eyeballs. They are glassy and darting around the room, but it's a good performance. Pharaoh informs him that there are no people left to free from bondage. They're all gone. Moses plagued and miracled the shit out of them, and Pharaoh's actually kind of impressed. The Pharaoh recognizes him from earlier as the Stargazer, has him arrested. Apparently our angel from earlier has been given the boot, runs into the father. Fallen angel and the father team up to spring fucking Dudley from jail. Now we go back to the desert where he runs into Moses one more time. But since he's a sculptor, he is chiseling the Ten Commandments for Moses. But spoiler alert, he also wrote them. And he finally realizes that it was always Moses and not him, so he goes back to the spot on the mountain where he heard God to finish a sculpture he made in honor of God. And then he offers it up, and lightning strikes that shit and blows it up.
Yeah, saw that coming.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
no false idols kind of
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
But the sculpture did its job, and it got God to show up, which is all he wanted, so that he could deliver his big speech to the Lord. The big climax scene where God gets vengeful, drops weather on him, explains how he actually did help Herschel. Well, will anyone remember my participation? Someone, somewhere, someday will know. Well, as long as somebody does. One more thing. You don't do a very good impression of me. No more impressions. Okay, I'll take that as our third impression joke. Well done. We'll give you the win on that. All right. And then you hear the horn honk. The bus is ready to leave. And they carefully roll this scroll back up. And they exit the cave. And poof, the scroll turns into dust and flies away. Oh, shit. They checked another thing off my list. Lorraine Newman gives us the mysterious ways speech. He smiles, goes to get on the bus, gets shut in the door again as Muhammad drives away and drags him down the road. Killer callback. They ended on a high note. And let me just rate this fucking thing. I've never been a Dudley Moore fan, but he started to win me over. His comedy is dry, subtle, something that would have sailed over my head as a kid when my dislike for him was established. Lorraine Newman is great. Pryor is essentially in a cameo, but he's very fucking good. The whole Life of Brian religious mix-up thing has been done, but it didn't feel too much like a ripoff. Much like Yellowbeard, the story's almost irrelevant to the rating. It's just loaded with one-liners and jokes. The cast is great. This is a medium popcorn with sand and pieces of papyrus in it. Medium popcorn with sand and papyrus in it.
Okay, never mind. I like that. I like that a lot. I was thinking, like, could you put papyrus font in it too?
Oh yeah, right. Popcorn in that. Yeah.
And was the scroll written in papyrus?
Or we could use hieroglyphics.
Oh well, that's a touchy subject around here. So. Yeah.
Killed it. But now that it's back on Tubi, I hit like.
Yay, all right.
I mean, give me an ensemble cast ripping off one-liners. If you throw Madeline Kahn in there, I am sold. Richard Pryor, same thing. I mean,
that movie sounded like totally you're up your alley, Ron. Like the character, the actors in it, the time frame, the era, the cocaine. You know, like all, like all of it. So.
We recognize our own. I just.
So if you guys want to look in the chat really quick, I put in the actor who Joe thought was Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, okay. I want to see this.
So you got to click on the link.
Oh, shit. What the? No, I know him, but Jesus Christ.
He's been in everything, right? But the guy doesn't look like Tony Shalhoub, so...
Not even close.
So Joe texted me when we started this thing. It was actually a while. I guess he texted me before I got in here. He said, and I missed it because I was watching the movie. He just wrote, "Dirty Tony Shalhoub yet?" I said no. I said not even remotely. By the way, I think I know who you're talking about. The thing is I know you so well that I knew who you were talking about. The rest of human civilization, not so much. He said a little close. I said they're maybe both Italian.
He could maybe play his goofy cousin Kenny, but that's
and here is the perfect Joe Vegas response. Well, they're both short. Am I right? So
I don't know. Is he right? Are they
once
even
again?
short?
All short people look alike. Joe Vegas out there being racist against short people again.
Height supremacist.
Good God.
Man.
Yeah.
It's a bad look.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us.
That is.
Yeah, because we don't need a wheel. Holy shit.
That's right. We're not going to do a wheel. So before we get out of here, actually, we're not going to do a wheel. This is our last official episode of the season. What we will be having coming up shortly are 2 recap episodes to recap our season, go over our likes, and in true half-assed podcast network fashion, there may or may not be some grievances shared about Tubi and its algorithms. So stay tuned for that. But so no wheel. Sorry, guys. I know you guys like the wheel and the sound effects we got going on there, but no wheel today. But again, it's going to do it for us. Yikes Mountain, thank you for stopping by to be a repeat guest and our last final guest.
Appreciate that. Always a pleasure, gentlemen.
What the fuck? This thing will not fire.
This is a great way to end the season. Keep this in, please.
Yeah.
The intro music comes in like 30 seconds later after we're done.
The funny thing is, like, I don't know if Ron is talking about his bong or his fucking soundboards. Like, either way.
It could be either way with Ron.
It could be either.
Why won't this fucking thing spark?
It's doing the thing it did at Rontoberfest where it just quit picking up. That better not start to be a thing.
Yikes. Do you see this girl's eye?
Yeah, I look at now. I haven't really been paying attention, but she's
there's like skin skin coming over her eye. Like,
yeah, well, I'm trying to determine which one you're talking about because they're both beaten to hell. Like,
the one's got
boy, I really. When is the main card? How far off are we? Oh, I'm going to tell Joe we're done. I think Joe wants to hop in, maybe.
Yeah. I told him 15 minutes. I told him 15 minutes, 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, but he was asking. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Thanks, Rob.
Leaving that all in. Yeah.
All right.
The soundboard giving us payback.
Fuck you, Joe.
Also, I live with my mom. Fuck you, Artie Lang.
You're listening to To Be Determined on the Half-Ass Podcast Network.